Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vedanta in daily living. This morning we explained Vedanta primarily teaches us self-management, managing our own self. What is this managing our own self? It is managing our emotions, managing our impulses. If we manage them, then that is the proper use of a gift that is given to us. And that is a gift called free will. Free will means the freedom to make choices. As a human being, I have the freedom to make my choice in every situation and decide what to do. That choice could be right or wrong is a different matter. But that I have the freedom to make the choice. I am deliberate in my thinking and actions. Thus I have the freedom to be a deliberate person. Who is a deliberate person? One who premeditates. One who first thinks and then does. As compared to that, this morning I gave the example of a cat. There is no deliberation, no premeditation, no pre-thinking, responding and instinctively. So they all live their life instinctively, which is fine for them. Because their instincts are so programmed that whatever they do is right. Meaning that creatures other than human beings can never do anything that is wrong. Swami, what do you mean by right or wrong? Is there something right and wrong in our life? Because looks like what is right for one person may not be right for the other person. What is right in one situation may not be right in another situation. Is it not that this right and wrong are relative? Swamiji, is it not that right and wrong vary with different people? That it is subjective. Subjective means what is arrived at determined by me rather than objective, meaning that which has a reality other than myself. This right and wrong, do they have a consideration other than myself? The answer is yes. When there is a law, then there is a question of right and wrong. While, for example, driving on the road, there is a law in the United States that I should drive on the right side of the road. Unless an emergency arises, that's the law. And therefore, if I deliberately drive on the left side, it will be wrong. It is true that in a country like India, the law is to drive on the left, there perhaps driving on the right may not be right. But right and wrong are decided based on the prevailing law, if there is a law. In many cases, there may not be a law. When my food is served to me, or I help myself with my plate, should I start with rice, chapati, sabji, dal? Some children start with dessert. That's what they want to have first. There is no law that this is how you should do. Of course, I know that as we're growing up, our mother made law, that's a different thing. Because if I had my choice, all I would have is only sweet. Like laddu, and then they serve like shira, etc. That's all I would want to have. He said, no, you can't do that. First eat chapati and then eat rice and then this, and wait a long time before I get what I wanted. But otherwise there is no law as to what you should eat first and later. Therefore you can conduct yourself as you like. The question of right and wrong comes when there is a law. When it comes to a behavior, is there a right behavior? Is there a wrong behavior? Is there a law existing in the universe with reference to which we can say this is right and this is wrong? Is there a universal law existing that applies to everybody? Only if there is a law that applies to everybody, then everybody is in the network of that law, and then everybody is required to follow that law. Is there a universal law for human being? Answer is yes, there is. What is that, Swamiji? What is that applies to me and to you and to anybody else, to all the human beings? We will not consider other living beings because they don't have the kind of self-consciousness that we have. This morning we talked about self-consciousness. That I am conscious of myself. Which kind of self-consciousness other creatures do not have. And therefore, they are not governed by this criterion of what is right and wrong, the criterion by which I am governed. Is there something universal that applies to you and to me and to all human beings? Answer is yes. This famous statement you must have heard. You should not do unto others what you do not want to be done to you. Is there someone who has not heard of this? We should not do unto others what we do not want to be done to us. I do not want that somebody should insult me, somebody should hurt me, somebody should steal something that belongs to me, somebody should trample upon my rights. I do not want this. So this is the rule, that I should not do unto others what I do not want them to do to me. Why is it so, Swamiji? I am very clear about how I want to be treated by you. Not only I do not want to be treated cruelly by you, I do not wish that you are cruel to me, but at the same time, I want that you should be kind to me. You should not hurt me, you should help me. So this is kind of an expectation of how I want to be treated by others. I have those expectations, what others should not do to me and what others should do to me. And we are all in agreement as far as that is concerned. There is nobody here that would want to be hurt. Our Puja Swamiji, when he making this point to the audience, just to emphasize the point, he would invite the audience. Is there someone here who wants to be hurt? Nobody. So, no, he could make his point very easily, except in one place. When Swamiji asked this question of the audience, is there someone here who wants to be heard? Somebody raised his hand. Now, here Swamiji was, sort of quite taken aback. Something you never expect, isn't it? So how do you explain that? Yes, I like to be heard. Now Swami did not know what to do. Fortunately, the audience came to his rescue. Somebody, Swamiji, is something wrong here. Meaning, yes, if there is something wrong, then this can happen. But as long as things are right, it cannot be that someone wants to be hurt by somebody. Meaning that we are quite clear about how we like to be treated by others. There is a counterpart also. That not only I know or I am aware or conscious of how I like to be treated by you, but I am also conscious of how you like to be treated by me. I know that the way I like to be treated by you or others is the way others also like to be treated by me. Isn't that so? Therefore, when I deliberately do something, or when I find I have done something, I said something which was hurtful to you, I said it out of impulse. Later on, I regret. So there is regret in us, repentance in us. I wish I had not said it. I wish I had not done it. Does it happen to us, to you people? Whenever there are relationships, that's going to happen. Or sitting on a dining table, joking, having fun. Somebody makes some remark, and everything becomes quiet. The person realizes what I have said. I wish I had not done it. So this shows that I am conscious of what I should be doing. Although there are many instances when I find myself doing something which I regret later, I think that must be your experience also. That you realize later, I wish I had not said this. I wish I had not done this. You know what that shows? That shows I know what is the right way of doing, and when I find myself violating that law, I regret, I feel guilty. We do sometimes feel guilty, is it not so? The sense of guilt is something unique to human beings. A cat never feels guilty. When a cat makes a mouse its breakfast, there are those cats, sometimes pets, or in India cats are around anyway, you don't have to have a pet, they're just around. And they are like so innocent and like saintly entities. This cat in the morning takes a round of the garden. You can see blood on the mouth because it has some squirrels and stuff like that, and it's full, his stomach is full. Comes before you and sits like a wise person, very quiet, as if nothing has happened. Looks like a cat has no sense of guilt. Can someone tell me, how come we have the sense of guilt and a cat does not seem to have a sense of guilt? What do you think is the difference between ourselves and a cat? Not other differences like, its appearance. What are these differences at this level, mental level? What do you think is the difference between I as a human being and cat as an animal? Free will. Meaning what? Yes? Free will. So, in what way does free will make the difference? Yes, ma'am. Is it possible that we can have a... he's getting a microphone. He's getting... Shivam, he's getting it. You don't have to run around. He's our leader. We can't ask him to do that. Oh, no, he is doing it anyway, but anyway.
Okay, perfect. So I was just saying that being able to be conscious and have the ability to make a decision and be aware that what we do affects other people also connects to our ability to feel regret and how we affect other people. Because if we're aware that we can affect other people and we can choose how we act, then being able to feel regret and empathy for other people is what kind of helps, I guess, guide us to treat other people the way we want to be treated, since we know better or we can act differently than just our most basic impulses.
Very good. One more question, let the microphone. How come this cat doesn't have that? We feel a sense of guilt. This cat, in spite of killing any number of squirrels and mice and whatever it is, seems to have no sense of guilt at all. What do you think is different between ourselves and a cat, that we have a sense of guilt and cat doesn't have?
I guess with animals, it's more about survival and doing what they can for themselves and their offspring. It's more about, I guess they're part of an ecosystem and maintaining a balance in that system. And so them killing a cat is not wrong because they're doing it for survival, and that kind of, I get that contributes to the balance of things, so that there's because everything's connected, right? So, the population is balanced, the ecosystem stays balanced. And when they do it, it's not like they're doing it out of malintent, they're just trying to survive, and they're not also overeating like we do. They only kill when they're hungry. They're not I guess, making a bigger impact than they need to.
Very good, very good. And still I should like to add something with reference to what I said, that we are conscious about how we want to be treated by others, and we are also conscious that others also expect a similar treatment from us. The difference between a human being and a cat is, cat also knows how it wants to be treated by others, doesn't want to be hurt by anybody, she takes care. Looks like cat does not know that a mouse also expects that from her. Understand this. Cat does not seem to know, meaning that cat has not been given the sensitivity to know that mouse is an example, that other creatures also expect from it a treatment that she expects from others. This difference. So the difference between human being and other creatures. Human being has two-way consciousness of the way I want to be conscious of the way I want to be treated, and conscious also that others also want to be treated by me. That is why there is sense of guilt. Other creatures do not seem to have the second part of consciousness, that others also want to be. And what she said, what is your name?
My name is Ajita.
Sachita. Very good.
Ajita.
Ajita.
Yeah.
That's better. I mean, better in my understanding, not the name is better. She said it all very well. What all she said is very well. That's what brings about the balance, etc. And what you describe is very right. But the point is this here, that is how the Creator has done. As I said, the only way that a cat can survive, the only way that there can be ecological balance is when they do not have the second part of the consciousness that the others also expect a treatment similar to what I expect from them. This I just pointed out to show the difference as to how, because of that, other creatures do not need any lesson in self-management, because they don't have other kind of consciousness, and therefore they always do what is right, in keeping with, as Ajita said, in keeping with the ecological balance, ecological harmony. So coming back to the point, there is a law. As far as human beings are concerned, there is a law. What's the law? I should not do unto others what I do not want them to do to me, and I should do to others what I want them to do to me. And when I find myself violating that law, there is sense of guilt. So guilt shows a violation of law. And that is why what we do can be right or wrong. Other creatures can never be wrong because they act in harmony with the existing law. That's called free will or choice. I can make a choice which violates the law. That is called freedom which can be violated. There is no freedom which cannot be violated. But human being has a freedom which can be violated. And therefore, and unfortunately, we cannot escape the consequences of violating the freedom. When you violate the law, then you have to live up to the consequences of violence. But Pujya Swami was very fond of saying this. He used to give an example of a tree, a margosa tree, whatever that tree, I have to find out, but there's some margosa tree, which has very rough bark in short. If you rub against that bark, let's say, with a bare back, you know what will happen, that you will be hurt. There will be bleeding, your back, the skin will be hurt, bleeding. Meaning that when we rub against the law, then we get rubbed also. That's the point. This sense of guilt is like that. That guilt is the result of rubbing against that law. And therefore, I am guilty. Am I happy when I am guilty? Tell me. Am I happy when I am guilty? No? Who answered that? Okay, that's good. This row, all wise people are at the back. I don't expect one answers from them. Is this guilt good or not good? Would it not be nice if there was no guilt? Then there's no unhappiness. We have two problems here. When we find ourselves having violated that basic law, then we feel guilty. At the same time, when somebody does something to us violating that law, what do we feel, When you do something that violates the law of how I do not want to be treated, if I'm treated with cruelty, I'm treated with unkindness, how do I feel? If somebody insults you, how do you feel? Good? Thank you. Oh, you insulted me. I'm very happy, Swamiji. Why? I was insulted this morning.
Anger.
But anger results from what? Betrayal. Okay, that's another thing. No, that's a big thing, Betrayal is a big thing. That's not betrayal. I mean, somebody just says some words to you, it's not betrayal. Whatever it is. Hurt, exactly. What I feel is hurt. So when I find myself violating the law, I feel guilty. When I become the object of someone else's violation of law, I feel hurt. These are the two unique feelings or emotions that human being, that hurt and guilt are very unique to human beings. A dog does not feel guilty, nor does it feel hurt, by the way. If you bark at a dog, what would happen? Even if you beat up a dog, let us say, you don't do that in this country. You may go to jail perhaps, but in India you can beat up the street dogs. Suppose you beat up a dog. It barks and goes away. Does it remember, you think? Do you think the dog remembers? He sees me 3 days later and says, he did this, comes after me to take revenge? No. Generally not. Generally not. Because they do not have sense of hurt. Understand this. The creatures, other than human beings, are spared from the pain arising from both hurt and guilt. So this is cause of pain. A cause of major pain to human beings is the pain coming from hurt and guilt, which other creatures are spared. They do not get hurt. If you look at your cat in some way or a dog in some way, it doesn't care, nothing, it doesn't feel, as best as I know. No hurt, no guilt. That doesn't mean that we want to become cats or dogs, that's not the point. We don't want to devolve and become. Swami, are you suggesting that we should go back to this psychoevolution? No, that's not the point. It has taken us a long time to evolve from, that level to this level. So it's a great evolution. It's a great blessing to be a human being, a great blessing to have self-consciousness, a great blessing to have free will. Is it a blessing to have hurt and guilt? If everything is blessing, is hurt and guilt also a blessing? Hurt causes me pain, guilt causes me pain. Can pain be blessing?
You can learn from it.
Somebody wants to answer?
Yeah, pain can be useful if you can learn from it.
Mm-hmm. Very good. What else? Yeah.
Earlier, Swamiji said that there's two sides to the sword. So if we can feel guilt from hurting others, that means we can also help others and be of service.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, that sword itself could be the blessing. It's just looking at two sides.
Very good. I was going to come to you, just jumped the gun, You said what I wanted to say. But that's good. I asked you a question, not give you an answer. I thought answer I want to reserve for myself. But that's right. That is exactly right. That in a way it is true that both hurt and guilt cause pain, and they're the major cause of pain in our life, by the way. You review your, what causes us emotional pain. You'll find that hurt and guilt are major causes, if not only, but major causes of pain. and they arise from interaction with human beings. Dogs can never hurt us. If a dog barks at you, do you feel hurt? If a friend doesn't even bark at you, just looks in a certain way. Thus, only other human beings can cause us hurt and guilt, nobody else. A rock cannot cause hurt and guilt, not a mountain, not a river, not even a dog or a cat or a bird or anybody. If sometimes we are not in our good mood, then anything can hurt, of course. But usually, birds don't hurt us. Deer, animals, they don't. Nobody hurts us. Can somebody tell me why do we get hurt? If somebody treats me in a certain way, I feel hurt because I feel that I am not treated right. When can that hurt come? When I have an expectation from you as to how I should be treated by you. Thus, hurt is the result of my conclusion that I have been treated unfairly because I have my own judgment about what is fairness, how I should be treated by others. When I feel that is not so, I feel hurt. So also I have a judgment about myself. What is fairness on my part? When I find that is not so, I feel guilty. So ultimately both hurt and guilt arise from expectation. Hurt arises from expectation of how I want to be treated by you, and guilt arises from an expectation of how I should be acting. You follow? The failure to meet with my expectation of myself brings about a sense of guilt. And my judgment, of course, my conclusion that you have not treated me as I expected, then there is hurt. In hurt, of course, there is my judgment about you. But anyway, I have a judgment, an expectation. So the causes of hurt and guilt both are what? Expectation. Meaning that we constantly have expectation. Number one, I have expectation from myself. Number two, I have expectation from you, meaning from entities, human beings other than myself. Meaning that even my relationship with myself is characterized by my expectation of myself. And more often than not, my relationship with you or other human beings also is characterized by my expectation from them. Understand this. It is a failed expectation from me that causes guilt, and a failed expectation from you that causes hurt. So answer is very simple. How do we become free from hurt and guilt, from the pain arising from hurt and guilt? No expectation. Wow, I never realized my class was so boring, you know. Somebody is in Turiya state, you know. What is Turiya state? No, you may not know that, but anyway. So,
Past deep sleep? Turiya, is it past deep sleep?
deep sleep, at least to the best of that, closest that we are is the deep sleep. It's something better than that, but as far as we are concerned, deep sleep. So this is another characteristic of human mind, is expectation, constantly expectation from myself and from others. Why should there be expectation? when I find that things are not all right as they are, that I am not quite all right as I am, then there is expectation from me that I should be all right in my perception. And when I feel that you are not all right as I expect you to be, then expectation from you is my perception. Expectation is the result of my perception that things are not all right. I am not all right as I am, and therefore there is expectation from myself. And you are not all right as you are, therefore there is expectation from you. This problem also other creatures don't have, not that it matters to us, but then a cat seems to be quite happy being a cat. I told you in the morning, there is this buffalo and there is this cow. We pointed out, this buffalo is not jealous of a cow. Even the cow gives only 1 liter milk, if at all, and mostly they are wandering in the streets, eating all kinds of junk. But still, when we have some auspicious occasion, and occasion begins with worship of cow. Bring a cow is worshipped. And poor buffalo, maybe there also, buffalo is generally considered to be a dull animal and always treated very, doesn't feel. Because there is no comparison. There is no self-consciousness of the nature of comparing oneself with others. There is self-consciousness, but not enough developed or evolved that there is comparison. And there are the complexes. So we, on account of comparison, always the complexes about ourselves, judgment, I am right, wrong, good, not good, successful, not successful, all right, not all right. A constant commentary, a constant commentary is going on in our own mind about our own self. You know those commentators in baseball and cricket and all these sports, constantly. Even the newscast also constantly talk. But those fellows are commentators those who comment on baseball, football, cricket, etc. Similarly also, there is a critic or a commentator sitting within ourselves. And thus when this person watches a play, like on the baseball field, on the football field, and how he analyzes, criticizes, comments upon that, so also we are constantly observing our own behavior and constantly analyzing ourselves and more often criticizing ourselves. I'm saying all of this for you to look into your mind when you have time. Whether what I do, what I say makes sense to you or not. Whether it resonates with you or not. But this is human mind, which is aware of itself, and therefore, and there is an expectation of how I should be, and all the time a judgment of whether I am all right in keeping with my expectation of myself, I am not all right. This kind of commentary and criticism always going on. I am the greatest critic of myself. Although we comment upon others and feel that this fellow is very critical, Swamiji. I criticize all the time, criticizes others, which is not desirable. But then as far as we are concerned, we are constantly critical of ourselves, judging of ourselves, and more often than not approving ourselves. Because I have a bar about myself. Sometimes a high bar that I set for myself. And I keep on judging myself based on the bar that I have set for myself. Everybody sets a bar for himself or herself, for themselves. Bar that I set for myself is one, what you set for another one. Somebody, I asked, so what is your expectation SAT, Swamiji? 1560 out of 1600. Is it a good score? No? Somebody says no, I said, oh good, that's great. I set a bar. Somebody asked, how much do you expect? I said, 1400 will be all right. Some people, they're contented. In India, when you get 60% marks, that is called first class. 70% marks are distinction. In our time, I don't know what it is now because they have some different system. Distinction. What do you need for passing? 33%, 35%. So ask different students, what do you expect? Swamiji, I expect that I should score at least 85, 90%. Other fellows say, I'll be all right, distinction 70. First class is all right. Other fellows say, Swami, if I pass, I'll be happy. There are many happy. So now one fellow in the examination scores 85% marks, and I see his face a little sad. What happened? Did you fail? No, Swamiji. What is the score? 85% and you're not happy because you expected 90%. Other fellow is 36%. He's very happy, celebrating, he's calling for everybody party. What is it? He passed 35, he got 36%. He expected 35%. So the self-satisfaction depends upon the bar that I set for myself. There's no rule that, what will satisfy oneself. The rule is that what I expect from myself, if I find myself to be in keeping with my expectation of myself, I'm happy. If I find myself contrary to my expectation of myself, I'm unhappy. You follow? Simple thing. Happiness and unhappiness. No, Swami, I'm happy when I get ice cream. I'm happy when I get pizza. When I'm watching movie, that is fine. But behind all those experiences of happiness, if you look into that, you find that you're happy when you meet with your own expectation. That's the reason why there's no guarantee that watching a movie will necessarily make me happy. I love pizza, Swamiji. I find the person is not happy getting pizza. I don't know pizza. I thought you love it. Oh, I will love ice cream. So I'm in no mood. No guarantee that pizza can make me happy. Ice cream, this is all example I can think of. There are many more things now, these, on BMW or something, whatever it is. So better examples I should learn. Because, in this generation, set a bar for yourself. That BMW is a good bar, or may not be. Now there may be, what is Land Rover, what is it?
Tesla.
Huh?
Tesla.
Hatch?
Tesla.
Tesla. Oh, that's okay. But there is Land Rover. Range Rover. People prefer that, not even Mercedes, I think. I can't recognize one from the other anyway. My little nephew knows every car. But depends on what bar that we have set for ourselves. Meaning that our sense of being happy or unhappy is determined by our own self, not by someone. There is no standard. I become happy when I am able to live up to my own expectation of myself. I'm unhappy when I'm not able to live up to my own expectation of myself. Meaning there is constantly an expectation that I have of myself. That is a result of self-consciousness. That's what we mean by self-consciousness. that other creatures have some kind of self-consciousness. They know that this cat is different. Cat, no, it's not dog, it's something different. But we have a much more evolved sense of self-consciousness. We have this expectation of how I should be, what I should be. And more often than not, I find myself not able to live up to my own expectation of myself. Thus there is a self-dissatisfaction. We said in the morning. Human being generally suffers from a sense of self-dissatisfaction. Swami, that is good, Swami. Dissatisfaction is good. Yes, that is what motivates us or impels us to do things. Swami, if you are contented, nothing will happen. Vedanta is teaching that if we are contented with ourselves, then what? Nothing will happen. We will come to that. But the sense of dissatisfaction with my own self is also common to human beings. Now, I ask you a question that is difficult, but still, what do you think that we expect from ourselves?
Happiness.
Very good. But when do you feel happy? Go ahead.
Like when we desire for something. So we look at happiness on external things and not internalize like what makes us actually happy. So if we don't get like that car that we wanted, we won't feel happy.
Right? You are a few steps ahead of me anyway, but good. I appreciate that answer. I want to...
Happiness is within.
Happiness?
Is within. Within. Inside. Within. Not external factors.
No, I expect the answers from our friends here. You shouldn't be sitting here also, should be sitting at the back, by the way. Anyway, but yes, happiness, as I said earlier, is when I am able to live up to my own expectation of myself. When I find myself acceptable. Whatever my expectation is, then I'm happy. So understand that even though something out there becomes the cause for my happiness, ultimately my happiness is the result of my being happy with myself. So this is something new. That usually, in this we are taught that we expect happiness from elsewhere, that's fine. But basically, I'm happy when I'm able to live up to my own expectation of myself. And because I always have a bar about myself constantly. But Swami, why do I feel that happiness comes from there? Why do I feel happy when I get a BMW? Because when I get a BMW, I think I'm all right. So it is not BMW that makes me happy. The I with BMW makes me happy. Understand this? Not just BMW, but I with BMW. So BMW enabled me to have a satisfaction, respect, or a sense of self-worth. That BMW created in me a sense of self-worth. Thus when I feel in my own perception worthy of myself, then there is happiness. Otherwise, not. The point of discussion is that I am the center of everything. I or the self is center of everything. And therefore that self-management becomes important. Whether I'm happy is also decided by my perception of myself. Unhappy, decided by my perception of myself. Therefore, it is important that I have a perception of myself which makes me happy, and I become free from a perception of myself by which I am unhappy. So self-perception makes me happy, self-perception makes me unhappy. When do I become happy? When I live up to my own expectation. I have expectation from myself. So in my perception, I'm all right, I'm happy. Not all right, unhappy. So this is where Vedanta comes. Why Vedanta teaches self-management? We need other management, no doubt about that. We need to manage the situation, we need to manage the world, we need to manage people, we need to manage finance, we need to manage everything. We have to learn those things. They call it hard skill. This is called hard skill. How to manage man, material, finance, etc., etc. One side generally overlooked is that it also requires self-management. Coming back to the example of Arjuna, he had all the hard skills, he had everything in himself to be a happy person. He was most acclaimed warrior, he was in a position to about win the war. All accolades he had, everything he had. In terms of worldly terms, he was a highly accomplished person. You have to look at his accomplishment. How many weapons, he acquired. That was his sign of success for a warrior. So by worldly standard, Arjuna had everything which can classify him as a successful person. And still became miserable. He was overcome by grief. That shows that it is not external things that makes him feel good or bad, it is his own perception of himself that determines whether he is happy or not. Therefore, self-perception is important. In my own perception, if I think that I'm all right, I'm able to live up to my expectation, I'm happy. If I feel that this is just the contrary, I don't, then I'm unhappy. So why is self-management? Because everything depends upon that. Self is the center of everything, and merely happiness that we want, or unhappiness that we find, success that we want, or unsuccess that we find. And that's the reason why Vedanta and daily living, meaning that, what is daily living? What is Vedanta? Self-management, managing myself while living my day-to-day life. And in every situation, this self-management is necessary. Because any situation can make me happy, any situation can make me unhappy, anything. Just standing in line for meals. Somebody just cuts the line. I can be quite unhappy, or all right, go ahead. No, have it your way. It could be anything. Meaning that it is not somebody who makes me happy just because he cut the line. Doesn't mean that I have to become unhappy. Any given event does not mean I have to be unhappy, because same event also can make somebody happy, or somebody that is not affected by that, meaning that it is my subjective thing. My perception of myself, that is very important. And that is where we have to work on. While you are doing other things in life, all of you are, very well placed in your life or working for it. And I'm sure you are all doing well, and you'll do well, and you should. At the same time, remember that this one part, or one aspect of our life of becoming happy or successful is those accomplishments, academic accomplishments, professional accomplishments, and other accomplishments, which of course you should have, you should work for. But at the same time, remember that I should be able to enjoy those accomplishments. Not only do I need the objects of enjoyment, I need the capacity to enjoy them. It's not enough that I have a nice meal in front of me, I should have the capacity to enjoy that meal. Friends go, they have planned for a movie quite some time ago, and they are all happy that evening has come, they are all going and talking like we do in the dining hall, anywhere else. Somebody makes some remarks. Somebody says something, I'm upset, that movie is gone. This is just an example. Meaning that there's no guarantee that the movie I've been looking forward to for quite a few weeks can necessarily make me happy if I am not available for being happy. And therefore we have to work with ourselves. Ideally, Bhagavad Gita describes an ideal person who is happy under all conditions. He gains something, fine. Loses something, fine. He is respected, fine. Disrespected, fine. Successful, fine. Failure, fine. Is it possible? It's possible. That you can grow, this is called self-growth. Self-management, self-growth. You have to initiate a process of self-growth or self-maturity. While we are living our life and accomplishing other things which we should, at the simultaneously we also should initiate a process of self-growth or emotional maturity. And Bhagavad Gita describes a most mature person. Lord Krishna called Sthita Prajna, a wise person abiding in knowledge. He is the most mature person. What is the sign of maturity? That he remains happy, composed, cheerful, regardless of how the external situations are. Not that he become insensitive, Swami, no, not insensitivity. But that sensitivity, that he can sense something more than what the situations are. And that is our goal. Our goal is, yes, situations are there, but we don't control them, isn't it? We do not control what is out there. We do not know what is going to happen next moment, really speaking. Not that it's necessary to know, but we don't know, we don't control. But there is something that we can control, and that is ourselves. And that's where we have to work. Then we find that other things become secondary. So that is the self-management that we are seeking. That we derive a greater and greater satisfaction from ourselves, happiness from ourselves, and therefore happiness with the world also. Vedanta doesn't say that we should be happy with ourselves and unhappy with the world. No, happy with everything. That's what Vedanta, Bhagavad Gita teaches, and we'll continue our discussion in next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.